I've been suffering for quite some time with mental health issues, so I went to go see a therapist, and I'll be so honest with you, it's helped me a lot. But what I was not expecting was something from my wife. Somebody that I thought I could trust, who I've grown very close to. She did something behind my back, and now my therapist can't even help me with it, and I'll tell you why.
Hey guys, my name's Jose. I've been living a great life my whole life, at least on the surface. Loving family, good education, a good house, luxury cars, a beautiful wife, I mean, you name it, I have it. Yet, I've not been happy, not entirely. There was always the nagging feeling inside me, a constant companion that whispered doubts and fears into my ears. They call it paranoia, which is a medical term, which is paranoid personality disorder. I guess, so naturally you can understand that though blessed, my life has not been easy. I've always had difficulty maintaining even the most basic of relationships. It all started when I was young, maybe around middle school age. I remember feeling like everybody was talking about me behind their back, like they were out there just whispering secrets that I was not supposed to know about. It's common to be self-conscious at the age, and I guess everybody is, however. This was so much more. This was a constant suffocating feeling that at any moment somebody was going to do something bad to me or harm me. As a result, I could not trust anybody, not even my closest friends. As I got older, those feelings did not go away. If anything, they got worse, and I started second-guessing everything that I did, wondering if people were judging me and laughing at me behind my back. It made it hard to make friends and to trust anyone enough to let them in. Even when I met Layla, the love of my life, and now, wife, paranoia was still there, lurking in the background of my mind. I could not fully enjoy our relationship, and I could not let myself be vulnerable with her because I was always waiting for the other shoe to drop. I was afraid that if she really knew me and really knew the darkness inside me, she would leave. It's not that I didn't trust Layla. She was and is the most trustworthy person I know. It's more about me and my own insecurities, the doubts that creep into my mind when I least expect them. I was back into college when I first met Layla. I remember it like it was yesterday. I was sitting alone in the library, buried in my books, trying to ignore the lingering feeling that everyone in the library was out to get me. That's when she walked in. Layla's personality was the total opposite of mine. Where I sat in a corner brooding, hiding from the public view, she was the breath of fresh air, smiles and sunshine. She came over to my table and asked if she could sit down. Well, before I knew it, we were chit-chatting like old friends. At first I was weary. I mean, who just walks up to a stranger in a library and strikes up a conversation? But there was something about Layla to put me at ease. Something about the way she looked at me like I was the most interesting person in the world. We talked for hours about everything and nothing, and she told me about her classes, her friends, her dreams for the future. I found myself opening up to her in a way I had not with anyone else before. But even as we laughed and joked together, there was a part of me that could not shake the feeling that it was all too good to be true. I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop and for Layla to reveal herself as some kind of elaborate prank, or worse, somebody who was just pretending to be my friend. So when she asked me to grab a bite of coffee with her, and just after class, I hesitated. I mean, why would somebody like her want to spend time with someone like me? I could not shake the feeling that there was some ulterior motive or some hidden agenda behind her friendly smile. However, Layla was mighty persistent, to say the least. She did not give up, and at last I caved in, and as we sat there sipping our cup of coffee and talking about everything under the sun, I realized something. Layla wasn't out to get me. She wasn't trying to trick me or manipulate me in any sort of way. She was just a genuinely kind and caring person who saw something in me, worth getting to know. I guess it would be safe to say that I trust Layla a lot, at least as much as it's possible for me to trust. We got married right after college, and for a while it felt like we were living a fairy tale. We bought a little house in the burbs and started building our life together. But even as we settled into our new life, I could not shake the feeling that it was going all to fall apart. It wasn't easy, to say the least. My paranoia affected the marriage. In ways I could never have imagined. I would get jealous over the smallest, teeniest things, convinced that Layla was hiding something from me and that she did not love me the way she said she did. It put a strain on our relationship. I remember once that Layla had made plans to meet up with her friends for coffee, but she forgot to mention it to me beforehand, and when she brought it up casually during dinner, even something so trivial as the triggering my paranoia, I felt like she was keeping things from me, like she had secrets that she didn't want me to know. I accused her of lying and being sneaky behind my back, and I let my irrational fears take over. Before I knew it, I said things I didn't mean, hurtful things that I knew would cut her deep. I accused her of lying to me and hiding things from me. It was a while later, and I knew that I messed up. I knew I had let my paranoia destroy something beautiful, and we did not speak for days after that. When Layla finally came over to me with tears in her eyes, I knew I had to do something. I apologized over and over again, telling her how sorry I was for what I had said, and to my relief, she forgave me. I can only thank God that Layla never gave up on me. Right after we started dating, I already told her about my struggles. However, instead of flinching away from me, she became my biggest support. She saw past the paranoia, past the fear and doubt, and loved me anywho. She encouraged me to seek help, to talk to somebody who could help me make sense of the mess inside my head. So, I started therapy. It was not easy at first, opening up to a stranger about my deepest fears and insecurities, but my therapist, Dr. Wells, was kind and patient. And slowly but surely, I started to feel like maybe there was hope after all. Therapy helped me understand where my paranoia was coming from and helped me develop coping mechanisms to deal with it when it reared its ugly head. Another person I trust is Dr. Wells. Dr. Wells is my therapist, somebody I've been seeing for a while now. He's been a huge help in dealing with my paranoia and trust issues. I remember the first time I walked into his office. I was nervous as heck. I didn't know what to expect or if he would be able to help me. But Dr. Wells put me at ease right away. He's got his calming presence about him, like everything's going to be okay as long as he's around. He's patient, understanding, never judges me for the things I say or for the fears that plague my mind. Therapy is not easy, that's for sure. There are days when I feel like giving up, like I'll never be able to overcome my paranoia. But Dr. Wells is always there, cheering me on every step of the way. He's taught me coping mechanisms and ways to just challenge the negative thoughts that threaten to consume me. It would be safe to say that it's because of him that Layla and I have not had a major fight in the past 3 years. Now, the reason I'm here writing about my life here on the interwebs is that, despite all the progress I've made in therapy and all the trust and love I have for Layla, lately I haven't been able to shake the feeling that she's cheating on me. I know. Considering how much she has put up with me the last few years, our marriage, and that she still is, I should be ashamed of myself for even contemplating so. Trust me, I am. However, I can't help what I'm feeling. I have not shared this with Dr. Wells yet. I don't know why. I always share all my fears with him, but not this one. For some reason, I don't want to share this one fear with him. It's eating me up on the inside, and I don't know what I should do. I've actually seen multiple posts where people write about their problems, and they receive sound information, genuine advice, and I'm here hoping the same can happen for me maybe. Guys, I'm desperate. I love my wife a lot, and I don't want to lose her because of my stupid paranoia. Updates number 1. Hello, everyone. I'm back. But first of all, I do want to say thank you. I read the comments. I can't say I did not expect hateful comments like I've accepted. I know I deserve them, especially after what I've done. So let me explain what I mean. Some of you suggested that if my gut is true, did not want me to share my fears with Dr. Wells, I should consider sharing it with my wife. You see, the problem is that you guys suggested I talk to her, so I may have fault. It's been months since I had this lingering fear in my heart that my wife was probably cheating on me, so why wouldn't she? How much longer can she really put up with me? Am I just a side charity to her? With all these questions buzzing through my head, I reached for her. I told her that there was something I wanted to discuss as she left for work, and she came near me to listen, and the words rushed out of my mouth before I could stop them. Are you cheating on me? She was so shocked to hear this, but her expression suddenly became one of pity, and she asked whether I've been having dark thoughts again. Maybe. And she simply said that it would all be okay and tried to dismiss the topic. However, it was not that easy for me. So I once again voiced my fears, hoping that she would reassure me and make me feel better. But when I brought it up again, she suddenly gets defensive and starts arguing with me. It wasn't like Layla at all. I tried to explain how I was feeling, but she didn't want to hear it. Instead, she accuses me of being paranoid and making things up, and it felt like she was twisting my words and making me doubt myself even more. Her voice gets loud and loud as she defended herself, and I could see the frustration and anger in her eyes, and it hurts to know that I was the cause of it. I kept trying to explain myself to make her understand what I was going through, but it was like talking to a brick wall. And then, in a moment of frustration and anger, I said something I regretted almost immediately. I blurted out, how could I trust her? As soon as those words left my mouth, I knew I had crossed a line. I mean, how stupid of me to say this. Trust is all a relationship is built on. It's the building block of it. I could not trust no one but her. That's why we're together. I could see the hurt in her eyes, and shock, and I felt it too, and in a defeated tone, she said I always only saw what I wanted to see, making things and situations fit according to my paranoid thoughts. No matter the truth, it felt like she was trying to make me believe that I was the problem, and that my paranoia was causing all the issues in our marriage. And as the argument went on, her tone became more and more condescending, as if she was trying to make me feel small. Now that I'm writing this out to you guys and have time to reflect on it, I realize just how manipulative her words have been and how they've twisted my reality. Was she gaslighting me into believing that I was at fault? Or are these my paranoid thoughts taking over me once again? I don't really know what to believe anymore. Let me know exactly what you guys think. Updates number 2. Hey, I'm back. I know it's been 2 weeks since I've last posted. A lot's happened and changed in my life during this time. I honestly didn't want to write this post because writing it would solidify the truth, but I know if I don't share it with anybody, I will lose my mind. It's not like I have anyone to share these things with because the only 2 people I trusted have betrayed me. Yeah, let me start from the beginning, shall I? The fights with Layla that day left me feeling really upset. I blamed myself for hurting her and for letting my paranoia get the best of me. I blamed not only myself, but my stupid paranoia. Dr. Wells, for not being good enough, I blamed the world. I thought really long and reached the conclusion that I was not getting any better, and all the therapy sessions with Dr. Wells was just a waste of time. So, I decided to see a different therapist. A colleague of mine suggested Dr. Green. Just to get a second opinion. It was not easy going to see a different therapist, but I had to try for me, my wife, and my relationship. Dr. Green said something that I was not expecting. You see, instead of trying not to feel something, he suggested that I try to give myself proof of how I was wrong. It sounded strange at first, but the more he explained, the more it made sense to me. When I told him about my wife, how she'd always been there for me, and how, despite it all, I could not help but fear that she may or may not be cheating on me, he suggested shaking up my routine a bit, meeting my wife at random times, calling her more often, and even surprising her with little gestures of love. This way, when I always found her there for me, it would be easier for me to naturally trust her. It made a lot of sense, so I gave it a try. I started making more of an effort to show Layla how much she meant to me and reassure myself that she was always there for me, just like Dr. Green had suggested. Layla was initially surprised by the change in my behavior. She seemed cautious at first, like she wasn't really sure what to make of it. But as time went on, she started to warm up to the idea, and I felt like this was working. Until yesterday. Yesterday, I had little to no work at the office as I was already caught up on all my deadlines. I thought to use this time to my benefit, so I made a surprise plan. I called my wife and told her that I would be working late tonight, and then I called her favorite restaurant to make reservations. I got off work early and went shopping for her, and I picked out the dress I knew that she had her eyes on for a while and brought her a pearl necklace to go with it. It was still early, so I picked up a bottle and left our home. I wish I hadn't. I would have preferred to stay delusional than witness what I saw when I reached home. I found Layla in bed with none other than Dr. Wells. It felt like a punch to the gut, like the world was crumbling around me, and I could not believe what I was seeing. I couldn't wrap my head around the fact that the person I trusted the most had betrayed me in the worst way possible. I wanted to scream. I wanted to lash out in anger, but instead I just stood there numb and empty on the inside. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to process the tsunami of emotions in me crashing out. In that moment, I made a decision. I couldn't stay there. I couldn't bear to be in the same room as the 2 people who had destroyed my world. So without a word, I turned away and walked away, acting like I'd never even been there at all. I booked a hotel room for me and texted my wife that I have to leave for an urgent meeting the next morning. She instantly replied, asking me to take care of myself. It's 4 a.m. and I'm drunk writing this. Yet for the first time in many years, I feel completely awake. How could she do this to me? More importantly, what do I do now? Should I confront her or act like I don't know anything? I'm genuinely a wreck right now. What should I do? Update number 3. Hello everyone, thanks for the support. I know it's been a month since I've posted, but I've been reading your comments and they're the only things helping me get through this. After the day I found my wife cheating on me with none other than my previous therapist, I left and told her that I had to leave town for an urgent work meeting. I keep an extension of my stay in the hotel, not knowing how to face the 2 people who I trusted the most and who betrayed me. It took me a week to calm my mind, but I finally managed to. For the first time, my mind felt calm. I had no more doubts and no noise in my head. I knew I was being betrayed. It was oddly calm. Finally, feeling calm and clear-headed for the first time, I decided to get back to Layla. I went back home and acted like everything was all right. I started seeing my old therapist, acting just like I trusted him, as I always have. So at home, I apologized to Layla and showed her more love and kindness than ever before. Slowly, I managed to win back both Layla and my therapist's trust. Slowly, I started progressing with my plan. I told Layla and my therapist that I was suffering from a serious brain-related disease. Brain cancer. With the help of my doctor friend, I was able to procure fake reports to make them seem real. I explained that my condition was terminal and I did not have much time to live. This made Layla and my therapist believe that my time was running thin. They started treating me even more with care and sympathy, or at least acting. Both of them pretended to be worried, of course, asking me to keep faith that everything would work out. At times, I could not stand their lying faces, but I had to in order for my plan to work. So, one day during dinner, I tell Layla that I wanted to leave everything I owned to her and asked her how to marry someone else after I was gone. She starts crying these crocodile tears, asking me to not say such hurtful words, and after dinner I pretended to drink alcohol and asked Layla to join me. I knew she was a light drinker and got drunk very soon. So once she was a little bit drunk, I brought up the topic of her future after I was gone once again. I wanted to know if she had somebody in mind to marry so I could be sure that she would be taken care of. Well, at first she denied it, but I kept on serving more drinks, and once she was drunk enough, she confessed that she would probably prefer to be with Dr. Wells. Soon Layla opened up to me and told me everything. She confessed how she's been cheating on me with him and how it's easier for her to be with him as well, as she doesn't have to deal with emotional outbursts or walking on eggshells around him. Her words cut deep to my heart like a dagger, but I guess I needed to hear it all from her to finally believe it. All this while, she didn't know that she had dug her own grave, as I've been recording her secretly our whole conversation, and after I had enough evidence of her betrayal, I put her in the bed and left the house. So I'm back at my motel room, and I have all the stuff I need for my revenge. A clear mind now, and I know exactly what to do. Well, until next time. Updates number 4. Hey, well, I'm back, guys. This will be it. It's been 6 months since last update, and I've moved on with my life. However, since I promised you guys an update, here it is. After I left my home that night, I went to my hotel and had a whole night to contemplate whether or not I wanted to take the step I decided on. Trust me when I say this, I've never been more decisive in my whole life. I wanted them to pay for betraying me and using my struggles against me, so the next day, I sent divorce papers with the recordings from the night before to my house. And that evening when Layla returned home, she was met by, not me, but the parcel that I sent. I wish I could have seen the look upon her face. It was my way of putting an end to the lies and deceit that had plagued our marriage. I couldn't bear to be with somebody who betrayed my trust in such a profound way. Well, as for old Dr. Wells, I wasted no time in taking action against him. I filed a complaint with the authorities accusing him of breaching the confidentiality of our therapy sessions and using the information I shared against me. It was a violation of the trust that I placed upon him, and I was determined to hold him accountable. It will be the least to say that they both bombarded my phone with messages, phone calls, but I was determined to not even give them a chance to explain. Not that they deserve to, anywho. In the end, Layla gets nothing in the divorce settlement because of her infidelity, and it was a painful outcome for her, but one that I felt was necessary in order to move on with my life. I couldn't allow myself to be tied to somebody who had broken my heart so completely. Well, as for old Dr. Wells, he faced consequences for his betrayal as well. Yeah. He was banned from practicing therapy, and his license was revoked as punishment for his unethical behavior. It was a fitting punishment for somebody who had abused the trust of his patients for his own gain. Despite all the pain and heartache that I endured, I knew that I had made the right decision. I'd stood up for myself even, and refused to let myself be a victim for someone else's sins. Well, it's been 6 months since the incident, and I've continued to see Dr. Green. He has a unique approach to things and has helped me tremendously, and I can happily say that I almost have my paranoia under control. I wish you all the best. Goodbye.